Okay, good morning. I am, as most of the time, on Negros Island in the Philippines, in Dauin, and it's January 19, 2022, which is roughly a month after Typhoon Odette has devastated this part of the world. Now, fortunately, our area here, the very south of Negros Island, has not been hit extremely hard, and we are mostly recovered. To our north, there are still communities which are suffering from the damage, unfortunately. Now, I posted a video about a month ago where we went diving 3 days after the typhoon had swept over this little reef in Dauin. And what I will do today, I will do a follow-up dive. I will do a very informal survey of how has the reef recovered, what happened to the corals which were broken off, how do things look underwater. So let's go diving, let's look. Now, one thing which happened during the typhoon is that a lot of these staghorn corals, these acropora, were broken off and tumbled around, and we're looking at a close-up of one such staghorn coral, and there's a little goby on it. I think it's a Pleurocytium. Now, amazing that even these dispersed fragments became little reefs, basically little homes for fish. So this just shows the great importance of corals for fish. Now let's take a quick step back. What happened? So this is the NOAA storm display user interface. You can find that online, and these are the storms in the last, I believe, 30 years which had swept over the Philippines. Now we can reselect, we can select the more severe storms, and we can select individual storms, like I believe this is Yolanda and this is Pablo. So you can see that these storms are mostly going over the central Philippines, and that the very south is Mindanao is usually off limits. So here you see actually Odette, which is renamed as Rai in the Philippines. So this is what broke off this coral fragment, and it's probably about 100 meters away from the actual coral reef where it grew, and this little goby lived on it. Now back to the actual coral reef on its side, this is a large table coral, a large colony. You can see it got broken off, it's laying on its side, but the polyps didn't actually die. It still has this color of light brown of living corals. Fish live in it. So even though it's in kind of odd position, it's not dead. A lot of the broken off staghorn corals did die. You see they're either white or they're like drab brown, which is overgrown by algae. And this is a pile of these, which is probably about 10 meters from the actual reef in Dauin. But not all is bad, of course. So a part was broken off. A big part of the reef is still in really nice shape. So we're just looking to the other side of this pile here, and the beautiful bommies of intact corals, and it really also depended on the growth form to determine what broke off and what remained intact. So you see the fish fauna is very rich, very healthy. We still see a lot of plant material in the ocean, so that just got swept in the water during the typhoon, and that has not degraded yet. So that probably introduced more nutrients than they usually are. Now these are some of these broken off coral fragments. This is a good 100 meters again from the actual reef. This is you can see the little goby on this fragment. This is the fragment where I filmed this close-up, which I had already shown you before. You see on the top the coral is light brown, still alive. It's dead where it's white. So that after a month, that coral partially survived. Here again is a close-up on a living piece of coral. You see that the symbionts are still in that coral, the polyps are still alive. So even though they're very isolated, they're alive, and this is a dead, overgrown piece of coral. So you see a number of invertebrates and algae covering this. So this is dead coral. So these fragments, they're probably not going to give rise to a reef. they will not grow there, but they're not dead either. So they might persist in these spots for months to years, unless another typhoon topples them over and buries them in the sand. This manila puffer is inspecting that piece. So here you can see in the center, yeah, there is living coral. Same thing here, in the center there's living coral, to the left there's overgrown dead coral. So these pieces of dispersed corals now persist in the sand. Here's a close-up. So I hope you found this interesting. The reef has changed, it's not dead, and there are dispersed pieces of corals which live their own lives now. See you soon.